If you run a company or manage a team, hiring qualified people quickly can make or break your business. Imagine a position of need going unfilled for weeks or even months because you just can't seem to find the right candidate. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people you want faster. This makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results on your job post. Just in the last minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Now that is fast. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. Listeners will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Go to Indeed.com/BWN right now to support this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply.
What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the MSC Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things Mac, all things football, all things sports, right here, MSC Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the great Mac to everyone.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the MSC Sports Connection podcast, part of the Varsity Podcast Network, presented by Lairfield. I'm your host, Alex. Joining me, as always, it's Graham. Pretty fun intro there with some of the news coming out of Portage County as of late, Graham.
You're obsessed with this Portage County. We can just say Kent, man.
I like Portage County a little bit better.
There is one MAC team in Portage County. It happens to reside in Kent, Ohio. That is Kent State University. And
go Flash.
Obviously our show intro has a little bit of Josh Cribbs in there, or a lot of it of Josh Cribbs, as the case may be. I guess we're starting right off, right? That's the got a bunch of Kent State news. Let's start with the Rob Senderoff news, right?
Rob Senderoff was rumored to be heading to Fordham. Those who in the MAC who know Fordham, obviously we've seen them compete against MAC schools in football, basketball, whatever. Graham and I were actually at the Fordham game where they beat Buffalo a couple years ago. Gosh, that was a fun trip. But Fordham hired away former Akron AD Charles Guthrie this last year. And so for him to be calling up Rob Senderoff that was pretty interesting. It looks like it never materialized. And Rob Senderoff got a great offer from Kent State to remain the head coach of the Golden Flashes, including a massive extension, a pay boost, and what looks to be a promise of some NIL funds. And I think that's going to be really, really big for Kent State basketball, who they're returning a lot of their players this year too.
Yeah. I mean, that's Kent State loves Rob Senderoff and his players love him. And I mean, the fact that they were within spitting distance of a MAC championship this year, as well as doing so well in the postseason, you got to think those guys are ready to come back and really fight for that MAC championship. I mean, that's the goal when you play in this conference, is to get to hang that banner. And so it's exciting. Senderoff is back. He's got a little bit of NIL money to play with. He's got a massive contract. He gets to stay home. And then the big thing is, Kent State bringing back players means that this team, I think we should go ahead and assume this is going to be one of the top teams in the conference come next basketball season.
Yeah, I think you're right. And they're going to have the tools. They're going to lose some guys to graduation, but this is a program who is, a lot of people want to say, they had a great 10-year stretch, which they did. The stretch where they made the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament under Antonio Gates, and it's not under him, but with Antonio Gates rather. This has been a program that hasn't won a conference tournament in 3 years now. They beat Akron 75-55 in the MAC championship back in 2022. But I don't know why I knew that off the top of my head. That feels like really random that I knew that. I promise I did not look that up. But I think that was partially because a lot of those Akron they did not beat. They beat Toledo. They lost that championship game to Akron 75-55 because of the video from the locker room after they won the semifinal game. But they beat Toledo in the championship the year after. So it's been 2 years since they've won MAC championship. Nonetheless, this is a program who's consistently at the top of the Mid-American Conference. Akron's on an incredible run right now, winning 3 of the last 4 MAC tournaments. I think there's an argument that could be made that they would have won the 2020 tournament after winning the 2020 regular season under John Gross. So Akron's been on a great run, and Akron fans and Kent State fans can disagree with me, but I think the conference is better when Akron and Kent State are at the top in terms of basketball.
Well, that both of those fans, rabid fan bases in terms of basketball, and really it's exciting when those Kent State Akron matchups are between, if not necessarily the 2 top teams in the conference, 2 of the top teams in the conference. They can get really exciting. Both of those places can get super loud during the games. It's a great atmosphere. I send her off talking about when a school invests in its coach that way. It's saying that we believe in this team. We believe that this team is really in a good spot. And he says in a message to the blue and gold backers, blue and gold supporters, I don't know what they call them, but it's their blue and gold collective. That's what it is.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
It's the NIL group. He says in a message to them, he says, now is the time to hop on board because, that's is a team that's going places. That's exciting to hear a coach who is, I am a little bit sad that coaches have to go to this kind of begging for cash for their NIL collectives. But it is exciting when a coach is locked in that way. And Lord knows, I'm sure Fordham made him a decent offer, but Kent State said, we want to keep our guy and made it happen.
Well, and I think too, Rob Senderoff, frankly, in terms of basketball, he's young enough that if somebody came calling again, I would get it. I think he's 50, 51. And he's familiar with Fordham. I believe he was an assistant there early in his career. So that would have felt like a little bit of a homecoming for him, but he doubled down. He committed to Kent State. He's been at Kent State since 2008. He did a stint prior to Kent State at Indiana, and then was at Kent State from 2002 to 2006. So he's been part of this organization for quite a while. And I think that this is a good move for Rob Senderoff. Obviously, you look at, he's won 2 MAC championships, 2017, 2023. He won Coach of the Year in 2022. And overall, his record, he's got a solid record. He's 288 and 176 overall, and then 149 and 101 in conference play. But I'm looking, he's never finished. He's finished below 4th in the conference once.
Yeah, not bad for 17 years, right?
Right. Yeah. He's the Jason Candle of Kent State basketball.
I think Jason Candle is the Rob Senderoff of Toledo football.
Well, sounds like we agree to agree. Speaking of football, more news from Kent State. Kenny Burns, is reported by Pete Thamel last Friday. Kenny Burns placed on administrative leave. Now, there's some speculation as to what this is about. Nothing has officially come out yet as to what this is in relation to. But I think if you remember the lawsuits that popped out back in August, September, with the credit card debt and not getting that paid off, Seems like those lawsuits have gone a little bit further, and that this could potentially be related to that. Again, not confirming one way or another what this is related to. This is just the information we have. This is the public information that everybody knows. If this is in relation to that, Kenny Burns at 1-23 at Kent State right now, the lowest this Kent State program, who historically hasn't been great, but this has to be their lowest point, right? You're on an incredible 21 game losing streak in the country, and that's incredibly bad. You lost to a team this past year, St. Francis, who, by the way, are transitioning to Division III starting after next season. So this is just a historically low moment for Kent State. And you hate it. Like you genuinely hate it when you prop up a conference like the Mid-American Conference. You want everybody to be as good as they possibly can be to elevate the national relevance of the league. Kent State's had some great years, but this has to be the low moment. I don't know, Graham. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is a storied football program in the conference, one that has had success. It's also had a lack of success, right? That's this is not the first time that Kent State football has struggled, but recently Kent State was doing pretty okay, especially within the conference. That's what was that? 4 years ago, they're in the MAC championship.
2001. Yep, they played NIU.
That's the
Sean Lewis.
So the point being that Kent State, what happened, and certainly some of this is you lose guys to graduation, you lose guys to the transfer portal, you lose guys here and there, and if you don't replace them with recruiting, and we know Sean Lewis was a great recruiter, also an excellent football mind. So both the recruitment and the strategy, that's how he ends up on Deion Sanders' staff, and then he's coaching at San Jose State now. That's where he's at.
The head coach at San Jose. Yeah.
So that's obviously replacing a guy like Sean Lewis is tough, but it's hard to think that this program fell so far so fast. So I think that's what has me shocked. It had me shocked in the years following the Sean Lewis regime, and Kenny Burns already on a short leash just in terms of performance. You can imagine anything might result in this administrative leave. So obviously we don't know the facts. We won't speculate on what could possibly be the cause of this administrative leave. But certainly not great news for Kent State, unless we talk about there are some Kenny Burns on administrative leave. People are talking about maybe this is Kent State getting rid of a head coach, and perhaps we could replace him. And some of the names floating around are exciting. Alex, you have your finger on the pulse. What are the rumors swirling around?
The big name that has circulated over and over and over again, and admittedly, I recognize this is a fan want, but it seems like this is a want by a certain Josh Cribbs, the same man who does the intro to the show. Yahoo Sports is even reporting on it, saying Josh Cribbs could be a prodigal son returning home to Kent State. He's still the all-time offensive leader with almost 11,000 yards. He owns the record for rushing touchdowns and touchdowns scored with 38 and 42. He holds the record for completions, pass attempts, passing yardage, and points scored at Kent State. And he went to the Browns. We all know his time with Cleveland. Went to the Browns as an undrafted free agent. 2005, ended up becoming a 2-time All-Decade return specialist.
And frankly, the fact that he didn't win the NFL's what was that, the 100-year best returner that they had a few years ago, I think at least as far as I'm concerned, was a miscarriage of justice. But the great thing about Josh Cribbs in the NFL was he was the most exciting player on the field. Anytime he took the field, he was the most excited, whether it's he's returning the ball or they got him lined up at wideout. We don't really know whether he's going to receive the ball or he's going to run a reverse or what exactly he's going to do. But he was the most exciting, most dynamic player on the field when he was in the NFL. And I don't know how much you got to watch of him at Kent State, but he was the same way at Kent State. And from that quarterback position, just incredible. I mean, just a kind of guy who is something to behold on a football field.
And it's interesting. I think, I've seen some of his footage from Kent State. There have been some legends that have come through Kent State. Him, Dree Archer, Julian Edelman. And these are recent legends. These aren't guys from the 70s, right? These are recent legends. And I know Josh, he did an interview not too long ago. He was saying, look, if Kent State calls, I'm going. I've got people who are, former NFL players who would love to come and coach. And, I know there is concern about whether or not what his coaching chops would be, right? As far as I understand, he doesn't really have much coaching experience. He was a special teams intern with the Browns and a special teams coach, the 2023 the NFL Player Association's Collegiate Bowl. So a little bit, but he doesn't have any head coaching experience. He doesn't have any coordinator experience. It's very minimal. So I know that there's concern there, but it sounds like he's got guys who are ready to come coach and ready, if he gets the call, ready to come coach. And I'm going to speculate because I love to do that. And you know how I am. I would love to see Josh Cribbs on the sideline with Julian Edelman.
Well, that would be exciting. I don't know that Edelman is quite at the point in his career where he's ready to come back and be an assistant coach at Kent State. But Josh Cribbs has been all over the place in Northeast Ohio. He's doing about 1,000 talk shows. Seems like every time I turn on the TV, there's Josh Cribbs smiling back at me, whether it's his local talk show or him talking on the local sports talk or him in a car commercial. Josh Cribbs is all over the place here. And so the idea that he hasn't been coaching, yeah, that's true. I mean, he hasn't been coaching, but he's also been all over the place. And so you can understand why, maybe this time in his life where he's been a budding media mogul might be a time where he wasn't focused on coaching. But I have a hard time imagining that Josh Cribbs would be a bad coach, especially at the collegiate level when we know how important recruiting is. Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I can't imagine being able to say no to Josh Cribbs. So that's kids who get Josh Cribbs in their living room, trying to get them to come to Kent State. I think he's going to have a lot of sway. And so, that plus the fact that he was always a dynamic athlete. It wasn't so much about position with Cribbs. It was about getting him the ball and seeing what he can do with it. I think that's exciting for a young player. The kind of players that you can recruit to Kent State are just true athletes. And Josh is certainly a guy who knows what to do with them. It would be super exciting. I do think we're putting the cart before the horse a little bit. One, we don't even know that Kenny Burns is out, and two, we certainly don't know that Josh Cribbs is the guy to get the call. But it is fun to speculate about this one. This is the one time when I think speculation might be okay. It's kind of fun to talk about. Can we imagine Josh Cribbs at Kent State coaching there? And how exciting would it be to see Josh Cribbs with a bunch of old Kent State guys on the sidelines coaching, and we see across the field from him Eddie George coaching Bowling Green. Mm-hmm. It's the the kind of thing memes are made for. So it's
only
love
imagine.
To see that game.
No, that's for right now. Like we said, Kenny Burns obviously on administrative leave. Mark Carney, his offensive coordinator, is acting as the interim head coach during this time. And looking at resumes, and funny enough, talk about Fordham once again. Mark Carney played football at Fordham. He was a quarterbacks coach, or he was a quarterback. And then from 2004 to 2008, he was a wide receivers coach at Richmond and was part of the 2008 FCS championship team. So, but Carney's had time in the MAC as well. He was at Bowling Green not during the time Kent State and NIU were on their BCS collision course. He actually he was on that staff when Bowling Green beat NIU in the MAC championship to prevent NIU from going to back-to-back BCS bowl games. So there's something there too. I have to imagine if you're Kent State, assuming Kenny Burns is out, as a pure assumption, you're gonna want to really do your homework on a search. And I have no doubt that Randall Richmond will do his homework. That's the current AD for those who don't know at Kent State. I have no doubt he will do his homework and he will hire a search firm. I'm a big fan of Kenny Burns. I really like the guy. I think he's a solid dude. He had a solid playing career at Indiana. So I'm hoping that whatever it is, it gets sorted out and he can return to doing what he loves. But yeah, I'm going to speculate with you. I think it'd be really cool to see Josh Cribbs in real life wearing the stuff in that picture he posted on his Instagram saying Kent State loading, with him in the coach's gear. So I think that'd be really cool. It'd be a lot of fun to see him on the sidelines. Moving on, I just want to make sure you guys have downloaded the Varsity app. We are winding down college basketball season. We are just a few games away from the NCAA Tournament Championship, the Final Four, the WNIT Championship, the NIT Championship, all this stuff. We're winding down, getting to the end here. So I want to make sure you guys have the Varsity app by Lairfield. Again, it's free to download on the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. You guys can listen to all your favorite calls. Just because basketball season's winding down doesn't mean you can't tune into those baseball games. A lot of great baseball going around in the Mid-American Conference right now. You can listen to all those calls from your favorite voices in the MAC, the Big Ten, SEC, wherever you love your content, those voices are out there. You'll also find a bunch of great podcasts. You've got Graham and I here holding down the fort with the MAC Sports Connection. Of course, you've got the Group of Five guys. Those guys are great. They've done a great job carrying a flag for the Group of Five. But then, of course, obviously the Sickos Committee podcast, plenty of others great shows out there that you guys can tune in and listen to through the app. So make sure you guys download that app today for free. Listen to the calls and podcasts that bring your conferences to life. Speaking of basketball, Graham, we have one team left in the postseason.
That's right.
Go Bulls, man. Go Bulls. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, we know at the end of last week's podcast, we updated folks on the score. We were actually recording the podcast at the same time that Kent State was playing Loyola, and unfortunately, after the podcast ended, Loyola really went on a run, and Kent State was eliminated, which left us with a single MAC team, and we got to tune in to Buffalo. On what night was that? Thursday night?
Against USI. Yeah. Southern Indiana.
And got to see a win there. We kind of expected that one. Honestly, I thought Buffalo was the better team. Then Buffalo pulls up. Buffalo? Who am I talking about, Alex? Buffalo pulls up against Rutgers on Sunday. And this one seemed like a larger task, something that would be harder for Buffalo to take down, but they handled it. They take down Big Ten foe Rutgers 71-64, and wow! I told you I was so hyped about this Buffalo team. Pick them to win the MAC. They didn't, but pick them to win the MAC, and now they're showing kind of the talent that we've seen all season. Really, Chella Watson leading the way again for them. I think she had 28 points on Sunday. Something nuts. Just unstoppable. And Yeah, really excited for them to continue. They're in the WNIT has weird names for their 16 and their 8 and their 4. I think the 4 is the Fab 4, the Fabulous 4.
Yeah, Fabulous 4. What is it? It's Fabulous 4. The Great 8, Super 16. Like, they can't use the alliterations that the NCAA tournament uses, which, that's fine, whatever. But yeah, so so Buffalo reaches the Fab 4. And, I'm looking, I've got the info pulled up from this Rutgers game. They traded blows in the first quarter, back and forth, back and forth. Buffalo didn't lead at all in the second quarter, didn't lead at all in the third quarter. They were trailing 45-42 going into the fourth quarter. They come out and they drop 26 points on Rutgers in the fourth quarter. You held Rutgers to less than 20, which is insane to think about. Like, you held them to a really low score, and then you just put your foot on the gas. You had a great home crowd. You had your fans there. They were excited. Chella Watson stepped up in a big way. And the biggest thing that ended up killing Rutgers was the turnovers. 14 turnovers, a lot of them coming in the second half of that game. Buffalo limited their turnovers to just 9. Buffalo outshot them from beyond the arc 27% to 25%. So not too much of a difference there, but shooting a little better tends to get you a few more wins.
Yeah, and really that's I can't say enough about this Buffalo team, and excited to see who they face going forward. That's the rest of those great 8 games have not been completed yet, so we don't know. My money is on Buffalo is going to go up against Cleveland State in the next round. If I had to guess, I think that's what it's going to end up being. But should be exciting. At least one more game for Buffalo. My bet is on 2, just based on their run. And it'd be great to see another MAC team hoist a WNIT championship banner. That's the being Rockets fans, you and I know how much that WNIT championship meant to Toledo. It'd be exciting to see that happen for Buffalo, and might mark the start of a kind of dynasty in Buffalo,
which is insane to think about because Felicia Jackson, the coach prior to Becky Burke, had Buffalo on a little bit of a dynasty. Roughly the same time Nate Oates was having Buffalo men on a little bit of a dynasty. So if you're a MAC fan for MAC basketball, you're a little bit sick of hearing about how good Buffalo is at basketball. But I got to tell you, this, Becky Burke, and Graham, I know you can attest to this, incredible person, and a good coach who knows what she's doing. She has a good head on her shoulders, and she's a rising star. So them being the second ever MAC team to lift a WNIT banner, Toledo, of course, did it back in 2011. That banner looms large in Savage Arena, as you know. That would be such a cool thing to be able to experience. And that's such a win for the Mid-American Conference. That's a lot of extra national attention. I mean, that's such a win for Buffalo too. Becky Burke has worked so hard to get Buffalo at the level that they were at, but then continue to elevate that. And I think she's done a tremendous job so far at Buffalo.
Yeah. I mean, anything that gets the MAC, solid attention on the national stage, I think is a good thing. And we'll be rooting for the Bulls as they go forward. Hoping that we get to announce on the podcast next week that they are WNIT champions. I'm knocking on wood over here to make sure that we're not accidentally introducing any bad juju. But excited for the Buffalo Bulls.
If there was any bad juju introduced, I think I did that last week when I said that they could win this whole thing. So I'll take the blame on this one if we introduce any bad juju.
All right.
And then last but not least, like I mentioned, it's that baseball and softball season. Got some great stuff going on in the league. Graham, talk about this last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most wonderful time of the year. That's what everybody calls baseball season. I don't think that phrase is used anywhere else.
Nope,
And
never
so, let's talk a little bit about baseball. Standings are very much where they were when we talked about this last week. Bowling Green has risen to the top of the baseball standings. They're 10-2 in the conference, followed by Miami, also 10-2 in the conference. Ball State 7-2, Kent State 7-2. So we've got 4 teams at the top of the conference with only 2 conference losses. Following that, Eastern Michigan has had a hell of a season so far and really a hell of a week. Results wise, when it comes to baseball, we had Toledo getting swept by Kent State this past week. EMU follows up their big win over Michigan to get 2 wins over Ohio and take that series. Ball State takes down Akron 2-1. That's 2 wins, 1 loss. But that is Akron getting their first win in conference play of the year. So excited for the Zips there. Maybe this will start something. We had Miami sweeping Western. I don't know that we expected that. I think we knew Miami was a good team. I don't know that we realized that they were capable of sweeping Western. Bowling Green sweeps Central, another surprise. Another one expected Bowling Green to win the series, didn't expect a sweep, and an impressive sweep for Bowling Green. So MAC baseball, much in the same place we left it last week, but starting to shape up. I think we're starting to see who these 6 teams who are going to be going to the end of the year tournament are. It should be exciting to watch it the rest of the way.
Yeah, and I think talking about that Miami Western series, it wasn't even that Miami pulled out, like they eked out these wins. Miami dominated Western this whole series. Miami put up 11 runs in game 1, 13 in game 2, 12 in game 3, and they limited Western to their highest total on the weekend was 5. And then game 2, 1 run, game 3, 2 runs. And this was a good effort by Miami. It's almost kind of wild to see Western, the tournament champs from a year ago, sitting 7th in the Mid-American Conference. Like this is a wild fall.
I think we have several teams who are lower in the conference than we expected them to be. I expected Ohio to have a better year than they're having. I didn't expect them to be at the top of the conference, but I certainly didn't expect them to be at the bottom, which is where they are. Western, like you said, tournament champion from a year ago, sitting at 4-8 in the conference. In Toledo, we expected to be doing a little bit better, also sitting at 4-8. And I'll throw Central Michigan into that same bucket at 5-4 in the conference. Really expected Central to be one of the top 3 teams in the conference this year. So we'll see as conference play continues, but really interesting to see Bowling Green in Miami at the top of the conference.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. Lots of great baseball to be played. We're still early in MAC play. Well, not really early. We're about halfully through MAC play, actually.
About halfway through. Isn't that wild how quickly
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's excited to see where this goes. I think that this is a good spot if you're Bowling Green. This is exactly where you want to be. You've put away some great series, and you're sitting atop of the conference. Kind of moving over to softball real quick because they, of course, deserve their equal due. Miami, once again, on a tear through the Mid-American Conference, a perfect 9-0 in conference play, followed closely by Ohio, sitting at 5-1. Ball State rounding up 3rd with a 6-2 record in conference play. Central and Bowling Green are round out the top 5 at 5-2, 4-4 respectively. Kent State sitting dead last. Just ahead of them is Buffalo at 2-6. And some of their series this weekend, Akron picked up a 2-1 series win over Toledo. Ball State, they picked up a 2-0 series win over Bowling Green. Bowling Green, of course, that game 1 was canceled. Bowling Green, of course, last year was one of the worst programs in the Mid-American Conference, and this year they're sitting at 5th. They've really rebounded from a season ago. I think last year they put together 3 conference wins on the year, and this year they are already up to 4. They're 4-4. So Bowling Green turning it around. Central Michigan took 2 games away from Buffalo. Game 3 was canceled. Then Miami swept Western with a 3-0. Seemed like the theme for Miami that weekend, back-to-back sweeps for the men and the women. And then Ohio took 2 wins to 1 over Northern Illinois. Anybody standing out to you so far, just kind of off these standings? I think you have to mention Miami, but I'm not surprised about Miami, right?
Yeah, well, it's not surprising, but they are 9-0, 7 in a row. They've won. So 9-0 in the conference, 7 wins in a row, 19-15 overall. They're an exciting team and a team who has done especially well in conference play. Ohio has a better overall record, 22-9. They're only 5-1 in conference play. They've only played 6 conference games so far. But Ohio also looking really good in terms of softball. That's really these 3 teams at the top of conference: Miami, Ohio, and Ball State. Are all crushing it. Ball State, I don't think we mentioned, 6-2 in the conference, 21-8 overall. But all 3 of those teams, exciting teams. Ohio and Ball State have done most of their damage out of the conference. Miami has done most of their damage within the conference. So it'll be interesting to see the way those dynamics play out as conference play continues. But yeah, I mean that's softball really shaping up. Wanted to shout out Toledo senior Kylie Graham, who threw a no-hitter in a win over Akron on Friday. So that's impressive. This is her first career no-hitter. So she's a senior, and her first career no-hitter. That's exciting. And Toledo not sitting great in the conference. They are towards the bottom, only 3-6 in conference play. But exciting when you can have a pitcher go out and throw a no-hitter. Toledo won that game over Akron 8-0. So an exciting day for the Rockets and especially for Kylie Graham.
Yeah, no, shout out to her. I did see that on the news ticker. And I mean, impressive. Like you said, anytime you can get a no-hitter, you take that and you run with it, because those are special and they don't come too often, especially in the Mid-American Conference. Well, guys, I think that is going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. If you guys are listening and haven't gotten bored yet, make sure that you have hit subscribe, hit follow, hit whatever you need to do to stay up to date with all the things with the Max Sports Connection. We appreciate the love and support you guys continue to show us. Make sure you share that out too. We want to get the word of Maction to every man, woman, and child across the country. So please, please, please help us out to spread the good news of Maction. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Thanks so much, and we will see you guys hopefully next week with a potential WNIT champion to talk about. Thanks for tuning in, guys.